What up, man? It's your big brother K-Rino. Check this out, man. In all facets of life, in all industries of the world, um, there are powers that run those industries, and they run those industries in ways that will perpetually benefit them from a financial standpoint, but not only that, also from a position of power, a standpoint of maintaining power and control, power and control over those who fall under the umbrella and those who they use in order to maintain their position and maintain their wealth, aka the regular workers. And when I say regular workers, I'm not talking about somebody who gets up at 8 in the morning and drives to a job to work from 9 to 5, even though, of course, they're all in the same boat. I'm talking about in the entertainment industry. I'm talking about in politics. I'm talking about sports, wherever the case is, sports business, entertainment business. Um, there is a set of rules that have always been established by those powers. And those rules and codes are used to maintain control and keep us underfoot. Keep us underfoot. So if you go back to a time where black people were slaves, it was a harsh and severe penalty if it was discovered that you, as a slave, knew how to read. Found out you knew how to read, or found out that you were trying to read, oh, it's going down. So the question would be why? It's like, wow, what's the danger in these folks learning how to read? Well, the old saying is knowledge is power. So fast forward up into the modern time, anytime that there's record contracts, anytime that there's sports contracts, any kind of business deals or transactions, those transactions in the paperwork and the wording are always geared towards the power being the main beneficiary of it. But what happens is every so often there are some who figure it out and they slip through those cracks of ignorance, and they decide they find a way to understand what's really going on. And when they find out what's really going on, they start to study, they start to learn, they start to scratch their head, and they go, wait a minute, oh, this is what they do, oh, this is why, oh, okay, it all makes sense now. And they figure out a way to revolt against it, revolt in the form of learning how to remove themselves from that process and create their own independent way of doing things. And the real ones not only do that for themselves, but they start to educate the rest of us on what happened, who made it happen, and how we can unhappen it, right? So that is a thing that the powers hate more than anything. They hate when we learn the game. And the term game is such an appropriate term because that is how they approach this whole situation called life and business and industry and whatever it is. It's a game to them. And we are pieces in that game that they move around in any way, shape, and fashion that they see fit in order to benefit in the ways that they have benefited for centuries. I almost said decades, but I gotta take it back a little bit further than that. So if there's an artist who all of a sudden he figures out the importance of having ownership of his publishing and ownership of his masters and things like that. Even though things are evolving and changing every day, but he understands that, hey man, I need to get representation before I come in and do this and do that. They don't like that. They don't like it at all. They want to keep you in that mindset of feeling like they are the only avenue in existence for you to achieve success. They got to make it be that way. And when you figure out alternative ways for it to not be that way, they have a problem. So when you create something that they cannot control, they start to alter and adjust the whole system. So we think about back in the days when independent artists were doing their own thing and didn't really need labels and all that. So now we see fast forward where streaming is basically the only game in town. Well, not the only game, but it's the digital aspect of purchasing music and getting music is pretty much the only game in town, with physicals being weeded out. And because they figured out, oh, they've learned how to go around us and still be successful and still make money. You take a guy like a Floyd Mayweather, who was like, traditionally boxers have always, we had to go through the promoter. And then the promoter would just taking all the money, and boxers would retiring broke and dying broke, and the promoters were still on top forever and ever because they just get another boxer when you washed up and move on. But a guy like Floyd comes along and takes control of his business and does everything himself, and now he's the mogul and has no use for them. They hate that. So a lot of times when you see a person doing similar things, or what some of the examples I'm mentioning, it's not, they hate the person. It's not that they don't like his style, his skills, or whatever. They hate the person because the person is interfering with their process of basically just robbing the talent, because they have no talent. So when you interfere with that, it becomes problematic to them. And I've always held the position in my mind that a lot of, well, not say a lot, many of the artists that we see that have passed on, we look at them, well, you know, such and such died today, oh, such and such died. Many of them were taken out, in my belief, in my opinion. And because their power, their position was one that would educate others, because they had the influence in the ear of the people. So if you are scary, you can have information that could change the dynamic of industry, but you're scared to put it out there because you are attached to masses hip, or you fear what they might do to you. But to have that fear, to me, makes you unworthy of whatever position that you have or you even want to have. You're not worthy of us if you move in fear, or if you have information that you're scared to reveal. And you're definitely not worthy of us if you want to keep people underfoot. You want to keep people ignorant for your own benefit. You're not worthy of us. So I want y'all to keep that in mind, because there are so many different dimensions that I didn't go into in this short video. Maybe I'll go deep into it on a live or something. But understand that when they start to really come at you, and they start to accuse you of being ungrateful, or accuse you of being an arrogant whatever, because you're challenging them, you're questioning them, and you're formulating new ways to think for yourself and for others to think, it's because they hate when you learn the game, when you figure out the scheme, and then you start to bust it down, and then you reversing it and using all of the tactics against them for the benefit of yourself. Then you become public enemy number one and got that target on your back. But that's a good target to have. All right, man, it's your big brother K-Rino. I will catch y'all later on with another one. Peace.